Yeah, now it's on.
I'm going to start.
Great.
Good morning, sorry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today at the 9th Annual Trans Equity Summit. And this year's theme is Building Trans Power. My name is Quinn Villagomez, or as most people know me as Shimmer. Say, hey, Shimmer. Thank you. And I am a radio on-air personality here in the Twin Cities on KFAI Radio, 90.3 FM. I have a morning show called Daybreak with Shimmer on KFAI every Thursday from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. And I host with Rox Anderson on Fresh Fruit and Rare Productions every second Thursday on KFAI on 90.3 FM from 7 to 8. And I also have 2 fashion shows here in the Twin Cities, a Design Icon and a Prince-inspired fashion show. So I'm really honored to be your MC for today. So welcome to those of you joining us at Minneapolis College today and those watching the Zoom on Facebook live stream. We're so glad you're here in all of these different ways. We have a few announcements, and then I'll welcome our first guest to the stage. First, there are programs available at the registration table for those of you in person. And you should have been emailed one as well if you registered in advance. The program inserts have the room number and Zoom links for all of today's sessions. There are also evaluation forms in the paper programs. Please drop yours off at the registration table before you leave today. If you need help with anything throughout the day, volunteers are available on Slack and in person wearing purple lanyards. And our event coordinators are in blue lanyards. Can some of the volunteers in the room please wave their hands so everyone can see them? So if you have a blue or purple lanyard, thank you so much. We have access leads on call for accessibility related questions, participant support if you need emotional support, as well as tech support available via Slack. And there is also a quiet room available upstairs in room T3850. And there's also a gender neutral and gendered restrooms throughout all buildings that we're using, and a gendered prayer space upstairs, as well as the opportunity for gender neutral prayer space in the quiet room. Our volunteers can help give you directions. And lastly, if you are attending in person, please wear a mask unless you're eating, drinking, or unmasking for accessibility related reasons. I also want to model some accessibility practices that we will be working on for all of our hybrid programming today. Please say your name before you speak so interpreters know who is speaking, and please describe your video for our blind. Sorry about that. Our blind and low vision participants. So for example, I have long brown hair, I'm wearing a blue shirt and a green necklace, and I'm standing behind a podium. So for me, I'm wearing a pink shirt that has some sparkle and blue pants, and I have long black hair and blue glasses. Today's event is hosted by the City of Minneapolis in collaboration with a number of sponsors who are listed in your program, and many of whom have tables you can visit outside. I want to extend a big thank you to all of our sponsors and a special shout out to Great River Energy, P Fund Foundation, Park Nicollet Clinics, Seward Community Co-op, Excel Energy, Comcast, North Point Health and Wellness Center and the Family Partnership, Minneapolis College, and the Women's Foundation of Minnesota. And now, to bless our community today and welcome us to the land we are on, I want to introduce Riva De Nova. Riva De Nova is an enrolled member of Sisseton Wahpeton Ayote, People of the Lake, Traverse Reservation, and of the Bear Clan with the Great Red Lake Nation. She has been semi-retired since early 2022 and has been busy doing contract work for the trans community on both national and local levels. Riva is honored to be one of our 4 Native American trans cohorts contracted nationally to work on all of the aspects of the Native American section of the upcoming United States Trans Survey with the National Center for Transgender Equality. Her history includes an extensive administration background working with diverse communities, including victims, offenders, and people who are deemed at risk. A certified cognitive skills facilitator, a trained crisis line worker, and has facilitated life skills classes to recently released offenders. She was also an ambassador with United Way for 16 years, single-handedly coordinating and executing her workplace campaign. And she was part of a team that has had research published regarding children of incarcerated parents. And in her free time, she enjoys Native American crafting and enjoying TV with her cat, Cordelia. She is fondly known as Miss Riva to many family and friends and former clients. Please welcome Miss Riva De Nova to the stage.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Wow, what an awesome welcome. I'm not a holy person, but I do want to take this moment to acknowledge the land that we're on in the Twin Cities and Minnesota area. We are on Dakota land, highly occupied by the Dakota and the Anishinaabe tribes. For our blessing this morning, like I said, I'm not a holy person, but many of us as trans people, we know our spiritual needs are a little lacking, or we don't have a lot of support. So I know there are several different faiths and different denominations out there. So I'd just like to take a moment for you to just kind of reflect on today and kind of pray to your own God. Just take a moment. Oh, oh. How's that? I would just like for you to just take a moment for yourself to just give thanks to your God, to who you pray to, and just kind of give a blessing for the day. Thank you. I hope we all have a great summit today, and this is the 9th annual, I believe. So what a great day.
So much better that I have a thank you so much for this. All right, next up, thank you, Reva. So let's give Reva a big hand again. And next, we'd like to give a formal welcome for our generous venue, the Minneapolis College. I would like to introduce their Vice President of Equality and Inclusion, Trumanue Lindsey Jr. Please welcome Trumanue Lindsey Jr. to the stage.
Good morning, everybody. Nope. I'll wait while they. All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? That's good. Welcome, welcome. Just to follow instructions, I'm a Black male wearing a black top, black pants, and a blue, purple, and black blazer for those that are joining us online. And so, again, my name is Trumanue Lindsey Jr. I'm our Vice President of Equity and Inclusion here at Minneapolis College, and I would like to officially welcome you all here to Minneapolis College. For some of you, this may be your very first time stepping foot on our campus. For some of you, you may have visited before. It might have been some time, but regardless of the frequency, we welcome you here. For those that may not know, Minneapolis College, first of all, we're very, very excited to be able to host the 9th annual Trans Equity Summit. Can we give it up for that? For a consecutive amount of years is not a small feat. And so I commend you all for being able to, for our planning committee and the city of Minneapolis, to be able to continue to offer this platform for all of our guests, all of our attendees that are here. Here at Minneapolis College, our mission is to be a space where we provide access to transformative power, the transformative power of education in a diverse and dynamic downtown setting. And so as part of our mission, we have a set of values, and our values are to be student-centered. Inclusion is one of those. Community is huge, is a huge value of ours. Excellence and integrity. Those are the things to be able to, that we look to as values, that we hold to, that we strive to be able to uplift. And what better way to be able to hold true to those values than to be able to host today's summit. And so again, we welcome you here. We're excited. For those that may not know, this summit today is actually the first open community event that we've had since returning back to campus. So can we give it up to that? We know there have been many challenges of 2020. And so since our return back to campus this fall, you all are our first large-scale visitors. And so we're excited to be able to have you. And, as I wrap up, we know that the push for equity and inclusion holds at the very forefront of many of our historically disadvantaged and our marginalized communities. And so I do want you to know that while we are serving as the host site for today's summit, that our campus, we work very hard to be able to create a safe and welcoming space. We pride ourselves on fostering an environment where all individuals are not told, right? A lot of times you hear things, people say things, but the actions don't back that up. We try very hard to make sure that all visitors, all occupants of our campus are not just told and hear that they belong here, but that they truly know that you belong here. And so again, we are excited. Welcome to Minneapolis College campus. And we hope that you are able to enjoy today's summit.
Thank you, Tremaine. Please give Tremaine a big hand again. And again, for those of us joining today, I am wearing a pink shirt with some sparkles on it, blue pants, and blue glasses. Next, I want to introduce our City Council President and one of my favorite people. She's one of my biggest inspirations personally, Andrea Jenkins. Andrea Jenkins is a nationally recognized writer, performance artist, poet, and transgender activist. She moved to Minnesota to attend the University of Minnesota in 1979 and was hired by the Hennepin County government, where she worked for a decade. She worked as a staff member on the Minneapolis City Council for 12 years before beginning work as a curator of the Transgender Oral History Project at the University of Minnesota's Jean Nicholas Tretter Collection in Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Studies. She holds a master's degree in community development from Southern New Hampshire University, an MFA in creative writing from Hamline University. Sorry about that. And a bachelor's degree in human services from Metropolitan State University, a 2011 Bush Fellow to advance the work of transgender inclusion, and the recipient of numerous awards and fellowships. Please welcome Council President Andrea Jenkins.
Hey, everybody. Y'all good? I can't tell. Y'all good? My name is Andrea Jenkins, and I'm rocking a powder blue double-breasted jacket, white t-shirt, and some fly-ass pink silk pants. I have a very short haircut, and I have on some pink earrings, I think. Yeah, so how y'all doing today? Good morning and welcome to the 9th Annual Trans Equity Summit. The 9th Annual Trans Equity Summit. I see Mama Shy in the back. Hey, Mama Shy, what's good? If the summit were a child, it would be in 3rd grade right now. Right? If it was a marriage, the gift would be pottery and wood. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Pottery is clay, and clay can be shaped and molded. Wood is what we use to build things. Trans and gender non-conforming, non-binary people build and mold our own lives in ways that fit and serve us best. Right? So happy 9th anniversary. I do just want to acknowledge and thank Miss Reva for the land acknowledgement. And we are on unceded Ojibwe, Lakota, Dakota, Anishinaabe lands. However, we're in a country that was built on stolen labor. And whenever we make that land acknowledgement, I want to also make sure we acknowledge the labor, the stolen labor that has fueled and built this entire country. And some might say, given the fact that, you know, the Queen of England just died, the whole modern world, right, on stolen land, stolen labor. So again, my name is Andrea Jenkins, and I'm the president of the Minneapolis City Council. I'm so deeply honored to serve in that capacity and to be here with all of you today. I founded this summit 9 years ago with the support of my then boss, Elizabeth Clinton. And I had no idea that it would persist for this long. And not only has it persisted, but it has grown tremendously. I'm looking across this room and I'm just fascinated by how many of you are out here today. Thank you so much for being here. And that is due to the volunteerism, the persistence, the commitment from so many other people. Folks like Rox Anderson and Anna Meyer, who have been here since day one. Yeah. Christina Kendricks, who I saw floating around somewhere earlier, but of course, she has been here since day one and at the center of every summit that we've hosted. Destiny Young, Deba Sadar. Where you at, Deba? Give a wave, way in the back there. And so many other City of Minneapolis staff members and of course, all of our sponsors who have been supporting this event over time. I want to thank MCTC. We've had some amazing venues. And one of the reasons why I want to move this event around to various spaces is because I want trans and gender nonconforming and non-binary people to feel comfortable in these institutions, to take up space in these community spaces that were not always intended for us to be there. So thank you, MCTC, for hosting us today. You know, there's been a lot of support from several council members that we've been able to grow from a very small but dedicated budget. And we need to increase that. But we moved from a consultant planner to a part-time staff person to a full-time position with benefits and paid vacation. And that person is Trachtenberg. Thank you, Track. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to the Trans Equity Commission. Your annual work is invaluable to pushing the city forward towards the goal of full equity for all of us in Minneapolis. Thank you for to this year's planning committee. And many of you I know I've already mentioned, but I just want to make sure to shout out Zoe Bougeray and Charlie Ito to add to that list. Yes, 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 yes. I do want to just take a quick moment to thank and recognize this year's keynote speaker, Diamond Stylz, who stepped up at the very last minute to join us here. Diamond, you're joining the list of some amazing keynotes. I just want you to know. Our first keynote was Angelica Ross, who has went on to become the star of the hit TV show Pose FX and is currently starring on Broadway in the musical Chicago. Like, that's huge. We've had CeCe McDonald, Tona Brown, the first trans woman to perform at the White House, Miss Precious Davis, who just ran for office in the city of Chicago and is the Midwest regional representative for Sierra Club. So thank you, Diamond, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Friends, we're living in some really challenging times. Democracy is being severely challenged in the United States. Climate change is ravaging our communities all over the world. There's a war going on in Europe and in other parts of the world. And right here in Minneapolis, we're struggling with violence in our communities, police brutality, inflation gone wild, and the rent is too damn high. So I'm personally working hard on these issues, from helping to select a new police chief, being engaged in negotiating an enforceable agreement with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, to being on the lead for a sensible rent stabilization policy. There's so much work to do. Nationally, I sit on the board of the Transgender Legal Education Defense Fund and the Human Rights Campaign because our communities are under attack, particularly from nefarious, disingenuous lawmakers and legislators all over the country. The Supreme Court giveth marriage equality and taketh away abortion. And let's be clear, it's about who has agency and control over one's own body. That, my friends, is clearly a trans and gender nonconforming issue. So the term intersectionality is not just a buzzword, it's our reality, and it must become our mantra. Late last year, Dave Chappelle tried to attack the trans community in his show called The Closer. And it prompted me to write a little poem. Dave was here earlier this year. Once again, Minneapolis made national news. First Avenue canceled the show, right? And that became a national news story. But even prior to that, I had written this poem called Mistaken Identity. Thought I was Lucille, always singing the blues. Thought I was from another planet, always spaced out. Thought I might be a plant myself, always being uprooted. Just when comfort appeared, comeuppance on the verge, thought I was Marvin. Whoa, whoa, mercy, mercy me. Dave Chappelle thought I was a carpetbagger, an imposter, an impossible burger. He said as much. Y'all thought it was all sunshine and rainbows. Jon Stewart said, I know Dave. He's a good human being. I know his heart. But we ain't talking about his heart. We ain't talking about his charity. Thought I was stronger, but they keep on attacking me. Thought sticks and stones would break my bones, but words would never hurt me. I thought Dave knew that there were Black, trans, queer, gender non-conforming people at the forefront of this movement. You said you were jealous of Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera started that, but you pay it no mind. I thought he was a philanthropist, but the young people at Duke Ellington High School said, nah, Dave, we good, and postponed his fundraiser. Hey, Dave, I thought I was a human being. Guess it was a case of mistaken identity. We don't want you dead, Dave. We want you woke. Stop killing Black trans women. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're about 8 days out from the start of early voting. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that your vote is your power. Exercise your power. We must vote, we must stay engaged, and not only just vote, but show up after we elect people who we want to live out our values, to move forward our dream for a better society. So thank you all for being here. I hope you have a great rest of the summit. And I'm looking forward to just being in community with you all today. And I love you and have a great time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea. Please give Andrea a big hand again. Just a couple of announcements. We do have COVID-19 take-home kits from the Minnesota Transgender Health Coalition, MTHC, brought to you by the Department of Health. And then we also have water, coffee, and fruit over to the right if you are wanting a snack or a beverage. Next, I'm wearing a pink shirt, blue pants, and I have blue glasses and Black hair. Next, we're going to move into a fireside chat style keynote. And I want to introduce our keynote speaker and moderator. I'm so excited because I met her at Creating Change a couple of years ago, so I'm super honored. We're so excited to have them here and incredibly grateful that they were willing to step in at the last minute when our keynote plans for the summit needed to change. Our keynote moderator for today is Tamo Lucero. Tamo Lucero, they, them, is a proud first-generation queer, non-binary Latinx immigrant. Born in El Paso, Texas, Tamo grew up in and around the Denver metro area, where as a child of divorce, their talent for poetry and opera provided healing and a sense of self. In college, Tamo followed their love of performance and passion for the arts to the mythical Coral lands of the Midwest, Decorah, Iowa, earning a Bachelor of Arts at Lutheran College. Through involvement in a wide array of musical studies and campus political organizations, Tamo's voice grew stronger and clearer, both in vocal performance and their pursuit of social justice and advocacy. After graduation, Tamo took a position at a national nonprofit, becoming executive director at 22 and overseeing youth development of cooperatives and the expansion of co-op spaces in North America. Having honed their hands-on leadership skills in the global cooperative movements, Tamo quickly became devoted to movement work, building community-centered coalitions from the ground up, developing and implementing trainings, on mutual aid and education, and harnessing the power of people to invite safe and inclusive spaces, expand the scope and relevance of public discourse at the local level, and create meaningful change. And their passion and experience braced them against societal headwinds as they organized for queer and trans rights. Seeing success in their work to ban conversion therapy at the municipal level, joined in organizing for Yes for Minneapolis campaign, and supported down ballot candidacies of women of color, immigrants, refugees, and new Americans. And most recently, Tamo served as a campaign manager for countywide race, focusing on issues of diversity and inclusion in the judicial system. Tamo is a resident of St. Paul, Minnesota, and an avid student of sexual health education, and finds deep liberation through radical self-love and expressions of courageous authenticity. And our keynote speaker for today is Diamond Stylz. Diamond Stylz has been one of the long-standing voices of the millennial Black trans community. She started her activism at 17 when she won a First Amendment rights lawsuit against the Indianapolis public school system, a victory that allows her to go to the prom in a gender-affirming gown instead of a tuxedo. At 19, she was the first openly trans woman to attend the legendary HBCU Jackson State University, where she honed her passion for activism. And for more than a decade, she has used social media platforms like YouTube to document and archives trans people and events around the globe. She has produced and appeared on CNN, ABC, BET, Al Jazeera, Insider, Inc., and The Roots, among others. She has written for a myriad of websites and magazines such as Essence and The Advocate. And currently, Diamond is the executive director of Black Trans Women, Inc., a national nonprofit that is led by Black trans women, focused on the social advocacy, positive visibility, and building strong leadership among Black trans advocates, activists, and our allies. Diamond is the host and producer of the award-winning podcast Marsha's Plate, which I love and I listen to, and a weekly exploration of politics and pop culture, which I love, from a trans pro-Black feminist lens that has garnered over 1 million streams. So please give it up for Tamo and our keynote speaker, Diamond Stylz.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you all so much for being here today, both in person and wherever you're joining us virtually. Oh, do we get a mic check for our second mic? Oh. There we go. Try now.
Is this thing recording? Shout out to T.S. Madison.
In keeping with our prompt earlier, my name is Tamo. I use they, them pronouns. I am wearing a white shirt, floral skirt, black tights, gold boots, strong red lip, because we like a red lip. And I'm very excited to be here with y'all today.
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
My name is Diamond Stylz. She, her pronouns. I am in a Black floral dress with a print of multiple feathers in green, pink, and tan, and leather, orange leather shoe with bright reddish orange short hair.
Well, great. I just want to echo what we've been hearing just for our opening here. Thank you all for attending our 9th annual Trans Equity Summit, both here in person and virtually, wherever you might be joining us at home. And because we, as Council President Jenkins shared, we love and believe in intersectionality, I just want to wish our audience, both here and at home, happy Latinx Heritage Month. That just started yesterday, so just want to shout that out. Thank you, thank you. And then I'm just excited to set the tone for this day. I mean, Y'all, I have been researching. I consider myself, I think, a diamond expert at this point. This has been my job. I'm really excited to just kind of lead our conversation and help you in getting to know this really fabulous individual, because I know, I mean, we were hearing the plethora of things that you do, but it wasn't even scratching the surface. I mean, as you heard, so Diamond not only is the executive director of the Black Trans Women Inc., which on top of course, doing national really great work for Black trans women, focus on social advocacy, positive visibility, and building strong leadership among Black trans advocates, activists, and our allies. And you also host a annual empowerment conference as well, which is amazing. You're also, again, as we heard, producer and creator of Marsha's Plate podcast. And then, of course, you're also a board member of A Call to Men, a really great organization dedicated towards transforming society by promoting healthy, respectful manhood and offering trainings and educational resources for companies, government agencies, schools, and community groups. And we're going to get a chance to dive into all of that. Don't worry. But just like any good story, I like to start at the beginning. We were actually just leading up into this conversation. Diamond and I were having a really great chat in the side room, just kind of talking about life and everything. And I brought this up, and I think this is a great place to start. So chronologically, you were born in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yes.
Currently live in Texas.
Yep, Houston, Texas.
Also Texas girl, holla holla, Texas. But can we revisit 1999? Let's talk about that the First Amendment court case and the significance of that for you.
Oh gosh, that was the moment where I learned that despite what society said, despite what everybody's the results that they predicted, it actually can be the opposite. And so in that moment, I was not trying to be an activist. I was a high school student having fun, trying to go to the prom like the rest of the high school students were trying to do. And for whatever reason, I transitioned when I was 13. So I transitioned the summer between junior high and high school. So in high school, I had always been living my truth and, dressing how I wanted, but I kind of strategically eased it into it. Like my nails got longer, hair got longer, clothes got tighter, more feminine, and it just eased them into it. And so nobody ever really said anything, but 2 days before prom, which is ridiculous because anybody who has bought prom gowns, you have to put deposits, you got to get it made, you got to do all that. She tells me 2 days before I'm supposed to go to prom that I can't go to prom in the gown that I have already
spent all that money on.
Yeah. And so I was so frustrated in my brain that I didn't have any power in this situation. She thought because I was emancipated and I didn't have like quote unquote parents, she thought that she could just bully me and I'll just do whatever she said. And I did initially feel like I didn't have any power, but English teachers. My English teacher heard what was going on and she said, "Come up to my room. I got something to tell you." And she slid me the number to the ACLU. And she says, "We talked about this organization before because they've been around for a long time. And if you remember, and she said, call them. Now don't tell nobody that I gave you this, but call them and I think they'll take your case for free." And I did, and I called them, and Kenneth Falk, he is, at the time he was just a lawyer, but now he is like over the ACLU in Indianapolis. He took my case and he said, "I need you to call the news and get whoever will interview you about it." And this is like a Tuesday, promise on Thursday. And and in that moment, I called the news and nobody would pick it up except for one, of course, NBC. Fox said no, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, of course. And so they came to my house and interviewed me and it was just all over. And they had to speed up the court date. They gave me a court date on Wednesday. And Thursday morning, we were in court and they were trying to make up all these excuses about it being
disruptive to the educational process. When was prom educational, first of all?
I mean, education in other ways for sure.
Exactly. And then it's at 7 o'clock at night at the convention center. It's not at school. And I have been going to this school for 4 years. I had a whole petition list that the cheerleaders and the football team put together, students, of students saying that they would not have a problem with it at all. Why are y'all doing this? And so while everybody said I wouldn't win, I won. And I was able to go to the prom Thursday night. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And I knew then that this changed my life in how I could think I could buck up against the system, even when I felt like I wasn't powerless, even that I was powerless. And so, yeah.
I mean, and I think about the power of just in general, and something that I'm constantly thinking about is just young people. I mean, like the amount of resilience and courage to just stand up and say, like, this is what I want for myself. This is who I am, whom I am authentically inside. And I'm not going to let a rule for whatever reason kind of keep me away from that truth. And it's so, I mean, it's incredibly powerful. And I'm sure you looked amazing on that day. And for it to just turn around so quickly too, and like give you the opportunity to experience something that's so, I think, fundamental to a lot of high school experience of just like going to prom and having a good time and looking good while you're doing it and feeling good while you're doing it. I'm really glad that you stood up for yourself and really took that power back. And then pivoting into, then you were the first openly trans woman at Jackson State University.
In Mississippi.
So in HBCU, I know I being a diamond expert, I read up on a lot of the hostility that you were facing on campus. And just hearing, of course, our introductions, there's a lot of, I think I saw a lot of parallels, a lot of connections to what you were experiencing, being somebody who moved from Texas, Colorado, a little bit more ethnic, a little bit more spicy, moving to the Midwest, getting dropped into the middle of Iowa. It was a eye-opening experience. All of a sudden, I was like the person that everybody wanted to know and get to hang out with and chat with, because I was the new kind of thing on campus, you know?
Right.
And it's one of those things that also helped me understand that, like, I have agency here.
Nice.
I can figure out what I want this to look like for myself. And I think these educational settings, when we talk about high school, when we talk about college, those are the experiences that we get to really flesh it out and I think understand ourselves a little bit more. But I want to dive into that a little bit. Can you tell us about what was that experience like, not only coming onto campus, but you were living your truth for the last 4 years. Like, I'm sure at that point it was kind of second nature for you. And coming onto this campus, like all of a sudden, I'm sure it was just like a jarring, like, oh, I have to do this again. I'm sure in many ways.
I was kind of naive, actually. I had the bravery of a rebellious teenager, and I thought that coming into college, it would be, oh, because everybody is more mature. Of course, we're adults and we're free. So of course we're not I'm not gonna have the same childish stuff that happens. And I learned that even as an adult, foolish bullies still exist. And so in that situation, I thought that I was gonna come in and it was gonna be different, but no, not at all. From the professors to the students, everything was toxic. And when I stepped on campus, what I didn't know, and I learned this like literally 3 years ago, this is 2000, and I'm the first openly trans woman. There was a trans woman a year and a half before me, and she was not out, and she got exposed, and they kicked her out of school. Well, forced her out of school. I found her recently, and hopefully I'm trying to get her on the podcast so she can talk about it. But because of her existence, it prepared them for somebody like me. And so they forced me to be in a boys' dorm like this. And so, in that whole first semester, like they tried to throw boiling hot water on me. They tried to anything, like they really tried to just harm me and hurt me. Luckily, it didn't happen, but that's how ugly it was my first semester. But I knew what that also taught me is that I was a beacon for other people, because there were people who were obviously queer that were saying that they weren't because they felt like they couldn't be free. 4 years before I came, there was a queer guy who was attacked, and the resident assistant opened up the door for the students to attack him. This is how bad it was on this campus. And so I didn't know any of that had went on. So I just came in with like I said, the naivete of a rebellious teen. But I knew that y'all are not going to bully me out of this space. I'm supposed to be here. I like this. I'm Black. I am proud to be at this school. And I have the wherewithal. You think those name calling and all that kind of stuff is going to stop me? I've been dealing with that since I was 5. And so let me figure this out. Who are my allies on campus? Who can I, if I'm having a serious issue, who can I talk to? And I was able to kind of withstand it. And by the time my second year rolled around, now of course I got in a couple of fights, but it laid down the law that I'm not going to be played with. But by my second year, everything kind of, once they knew, oh, this person ain't going nowhere. We can't bully this person out of their spot. It kind of totally slowed down and shifted. But yeah, it was amazing.
I mean, that's beautiful. Like one of the recalling my college experience, we fought hard for gender neutral housing has been one of those big things that I know higher education has been talking about and meeting a lot of resistance to, which is just, we talk about these, again, educational places being like the corner, like pillars of like how we develop our society and how we get better, how we, all become a little bit more educated and inclusive. And they're still so far behind in so many ways.
You know what another element that I learned in that, it was the veneer of people was the juxtaposition, because yes, there was this violent, ugly veneer of what was happening, but the same day somebody was trying to throw boiling water. I'm coming to my door. This is how they try to throw boiling water on me. I'm coming to my door, they knock on it, and they expected me to just open it up and they throw the water, okay? I didn't just open up. I just kind of cracked it a little bit. And so the water just hit the floor and hit the door, and it went on the floor and kind of poured into the room. The crazy part is on the floor was letters from boys in this dorm talking about how pretty I was, how attractive I was. And it ranged from freak stuff like, ooh, can you do this oral thing for me? Or, ooh, you so pretty. I hate people are treating you like this. I wish we could be friends. And so, yes, these same boys who are trying to harm me, there's letters soaking up the water that they slid under my door. And so this veneer of somebody in one moment being negative and then somebody being positive, and that juxtaposition would follow me throughout my life of one way society being openly ugly to me, but then I'm also the center of somebody's affection or the center of somebody's hope. Yeah. Because there also were other queer people that was like, if you can do it and deal with all this stuff that you can do on my little stuff, I can do it too. Yeah. And so that's what it really, really shined a light on.
And I want to chase this thread a little bit about, you again, just knowing the breadth of work that you're so involved in and the things that you're tackling on a daily basis, this beacon of hope. And this is something that you referenced a couple of times in your writing that really resonated with me. You never realize how many people are paying attention to you until you make moves. You start creating waves. You start disrupting.
Yeah.
And you get this outpouring of like, oh, we're watching, or sometimes that's in the negative, but you get a lot of these people affirming the way that you are moving and the way that you are tackling the issues that are being presented at you. And I think that's the fear, right? That's the
Yeah.
fear of communities like ours, our trans community, or non-binary, our GNCs. They're scared of us coming together,
Yeah.
right? They're scared of us forming that community. And I want to talk a little bit about that, about how did you, I mean, in college, also becoming aware of, oh, I have a voice here and people are paying attention to it.
Mm.
What was that experience like for you in finding your voice at such a young age, transitioning at 13, but now I think using it as a space to not only affirm yourself internally, but being in a space in college now where you have to externally, I think, start validating yourself too.
Mm. That's a lifelong process, finding your voice, keeping the strength to make it loud. Because sometimes you can speak it, but sometimes you shy away from being loud, and keeping that steady, consistent, steadfast idea of I deserve to say what I have to say and share my experience is a lifelong commitment. Because there's sometimes that I'm still fearful. There's sometimes that I'm worried about the consequences of sharing my voice. And then there's sometimes that I'm confident and I do it. So it's a lifelong waxing and waning of when that confidence comes. When the stakes are too high, the fear is high as well. When the stakes are low, the fear is low. And so I think about Dr. Joy James at Williamson College. She has this theory called the Captive Maternal, and that's a gender neutral term where she talks about people who are in the lowest levels of oppression, like in the hood and in poverty, and but they are like the lifeline of the community. Like they're the ones that will, if you're crying in your bathroom, they're gonna come and be there for you in your darkest times. They're the ones they're the candy lady who sells penny candy to the kids, but they use that money to bail people out. That is those people who keep the structure of the community in a whole positive level, in a thriving level, but only for the system to come in exploit them some more. And so I think a lot of us are in those situations where we are captive maternals. We're trying to give our all to be that hope and to be that lifeline and to be that person that not necessarily has it all together, but that has that strength. And sometimes that can get tiring. Sometimes that can, you can feel like this is a insurmountable obstacle to get across when we think about the systems of oppression, capitalism, racism, sexism. When we think about those things, that we're kind of chipping away at a mountain, but it is the thing that we are the most worthy of. It is the attempt. You can attempt so many different things, but those attempts are you worthy of those things. And finding that balance of being somebody's hope, but also knowing that you can rest and you can stop at any point and figure things out and cut the light off. And then once you get your strength and your confidence back, cut it back on to be hope. And you're not the only one. There's tons of beacons of light out here. And so that's, for me, finding that balance in my life of being somebody's hope, but also being my own, and knowing when to balance that power and balance that that need and that care, not only for community, but for myself, so we can continue to thrive. I've been passed the torch. So how can I take that torch? And if I need to put it down, put it up against the wall, hang it up, whatever I need to do, and rest a little bit, know that I'm owed that to myself. So that's for me, that's what it is about, that finding that balance.
Well, dang. I don't know about y'all. I needed to hear that personally. I think sometimes I feel like a lot of us take on the weight of the world. We tend to, I don't know, make ourselves have to do the most, have to do the extra. And more so, I think when we start talking about marginalized identities, and I think compounding experiences of being a Black trans woman, being a non-binary Mexican person, like I just know those things start stacking up and it starts getting harder and harder to see the end. And I know, thank you. I needed to hear that, so I appreciate that. But I wanted to switch into diving into the meat of our conversation. We've been getting to know you a little bit more just over these last few minutes, but our theme this year is building trans power. On the website, something that stood out to me, just reading the little blurb, trans people have always known how to build power out of environments designed to prevent that. As we respond to legislative attacks nationwide, maybe remember what our communities are capable of. And that really stuck with me, specifically with our theme of power today, because I'm a political organizer, I'm a community organizer, and that's what I've done for the last 7 years. And it's what I know, and it's my passion and what I love doing. And at the end of the day, that can sometimes be the language that we use around organizing can sometimes be very limited. And I think language is hard, and I think
Of
limiting
course.
in so many ways.
It's also an ever-evolving entity, a
Yes,
living
exactly.
entity.
And I think for knowing on organizing terms, we talk about power very as something that you can have, as something that you can give to other people, and as something that people shouldn't be scared or shy about. I think when we hear about power, we hear about all the negative ways that power is used. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know, we hear these things all the time. And there are yet so many good ways to wield power. As we've seen with Council President Jenkins, when you use power in the right way, right? Like these possibilities, these doors start opening, and it's up to us to, I think, in some ways, force that open, but also claim that power for ourselves. So in organizing, we say power is based on money and based on people. So to either make laws, to make movements, you need a whole bunch of capital to be able to do it. And you need a really good base of people to be able to do it. And we've been talking a little bit about your kind of growing up, and we got a chance to connect a little bit more about that ourselves. But I'm curious, in these moments where things felt really overwhelming for the fights that you've just had to put up with, I think even just at a young age, what, in those moments where you were fighting to be your authentic self, where did your power come from? And what does power mean to you?
Definitely 100% community. 100%. I would not be here without community. Even in another element of what was going on while I was in college is I'm a child of an addict, and my mother passed away in 2020 of a fentanyl overdose, and she had been dealing with her addiction for 30 years. And so while I was in college, I was so poor. I had to wash my clothes in the sink at night. You wake up at 3, 4 in the morning to wash my clothes with some Tide in the sink so people wouldn't see me, and hang them up in my room while dealing with people trying to harm me. Like there was so many layers to what I was going through. And then a particular incident when I got older, I had a bout of homelessness, and that's how I ended up in Houston. I moved to Houston with $57 in my pocket. And my mother had relapsed, and I was actually staying with her, but she relapsed and lost the place. And so I didn't have anywhere to go, and I just picked up and went to Houston. I couldn't go to the cisgender women's shelter because I was not, cisgender. And I couldn't go to the men's shelter because they said you are a liability if you can't take your breast off. And so you can't go there. And this is the kicker. I couldn't go to the LGBT shelter because I wasn't HIV positive. And so these are the only three options that I could in Houston at the time. So I couldn't go to anything. And I was in a Black Planet chat room, and this trans girl in there said, we were talking and I told her what was going on. And she said, oh, you can stay with me. And I moved to Houston November the 15th, and she had a 1-bedroom apartment. She already had a girl staying with her and her man. So these 4 adults was living in a 1-bedroom apartment. She had 1 2-seater couch and a big 3-seater couch. I was the tallest one, so I was on the 3-seater. The plus size girl was in the 2-seater, and we were literally sleeping, while her man in this room, and we were on the couch making it work. Above, all of us were sex workers. Really, the community that somebody saying, I got a couch. I ain't got no big luxury mansion, but I got a couch. And in a month, through sex work, through community, I had my own place. I had the keys to my apartment, December the 16th. And I was able, it was the beginning of what you see now. And so it's always the community that saved me. It's always the people who in my social circle that saved me. Even back in high school, my teachers stepping up and saying, hey, I know this system is crazy. Let me show you how to do something about it. And so it's always community. Community is always important. They always are the people who I can fall back on. And so when it comes to power, I make sure that you can't, sometimes power is othering. And it can kind of make you feel like you don't have access to it, because we're always talking about these things. The powerful is doing this, the powerful is doing that. But we actually have power within our own circles. What are you doing in your church to be more inclusive in the places that you have power? What are you doing in your home that says, yeah, that transphobic stuff can happen out there, but in my house, no, we're going to respect people. When you have power, where you have power, how do you step up? How do you actually create the world that you want to see, where you do have power, where you do have influence? And so I had to learn that. I had to stop thinking, yes, there's the reality of, big politicians and corporations and the police that have this otherworldly kind of power, levels of power. But in the circles where I have control, in the places where I have control and influence, how am I being courageous and stepping up to using the power and influence that I do have? And so, and where can I find it in places that I didn't think about? And so for me, that was the shift in my mindset of how I can use my power, how I can show people how to use power. And being a part of a healthy, thriving community member in community with other people is really where my power lies.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And I feel like that's, where a lot of us find our power too, is once you find that one person that you can connect with and talk to things about, and you just kind of let down those defenses. You're able to kind of relax for a little bit and breathe. And I think that's such an important thing, is that we think about power as you either have it or you don't. And I think that's not, I love that you said that, really taking the time to take inventory of where you are powerful. Because I think whether it's our workplaces or, like you said, our home, our church communities, the place that you're volunteering down the street at, your voice carries weight, and it's up to us to really be intentional about using that voice in these spaces that we occupy, because that's the only way it's going to get better for any of us, when we all stand up and do it together.
I remember I got my first job out of sex work. It was a retail job. I was a store manager at Bath and Body Works. Love candles. And so when I got there was literally no diversity. It was a team of 24. And it was some Black people and some white people, mostly girls. And that's literally was all it was. It was probably 70% white girls and then 30% Black girls. When I left, 6 of that 24 were trans or queer. Once I got the position of store manager, we about to change some stuff. And so I was very intentional about, it was 2 trans men, gender nonconforming. I had a Asian girl. I had 2 Latina girls. And for me, it just was really important when I looked at my team and saw the diversity. I need everybody to feel included when they come to this store. And no, I don't own this, but this is where I have the power. This is where I have the power. So how can I change the landscape? And so, and what was crazy in that moment, we went from being 11 in the district that we were in to 3 for the 8 years that I was there, but oscillated between 3 and 2. And I attribute it to the fact that we have the diversity. We can connect with people who can speak Vietnamese. We can connect people who speak Spanish. We can connect with people. When you come to our store and you're trans or queer or whatever, you don't have to worry about what we're gonna say or do, because we're here to serve you and you deserve to be here too. And you see it by the diversity in our team, that you might not see in other stores, because, I'm not tripping about if a person has dreads, even though the big company is saying, oh, dreads are not professional. But I'm saying here at my store, you can have your hair natural as you want it to be. Locks, fro, whatever. Different bright colors, long as you can sell, long as you can give great customer service. I don't care about that. And that showed up in results. It showed up in the comfortableness. I remember I had a girl who had a baby, and this wasn't necessarily safe, but she didn't have somebody called out her babysitter, and she had to bring the baby to work. And so I used my PTO time to call somebody in to be the manager, and I sat there and helped her watch her baby for her shift. Now I
That's
can't,
community.
that was against the rules, but this is one of my best workers. This is one of my favorite people that I love to sit. Why would I punish her or harm her when I know she needed money? I have built a relationship with my team. I know she can't afford to lose this day of work with her baby. So if I'm the boss here, and it may not be the rules, but who is gonna say something? I'm the boss.
Absolutely.
So I learned that's the power, that you have to be able to know when to hold them and when to follow the rules, when they don't rules. Usually the rules are what we're trying to break to change. We got to break them in order to change. So that's what I learned in that space. And yeah, the power that I recognize, okay, I can do something different.
And that's the thing, is like we're disrupting the cycles, right? Like we're putting an end to this, the cycles of harm that are putting us in these horrible positions that we obviously don't want to be in. We're fighting to, jump out. And I want to talk a little bit more about your voice and how you've been using that to be a catalyst for, again, this amazing body of work that you're doing. Not only, you started on YouTube, earning over 10,000 subscribers and getting 3 million views. And then finding so much success in that, jumping over to podcasting. And one of the quotes that you had that I wanted to bring into this space, you said, "I feel that the many struggles and situations I have been in have prepared me for my purpose in the world. That purpose is to share my life and stories, to promote diversity and understanding in the subjects of race, gender, and sexuality." Can you tell us a little bit more about Marsha's Plate and how you see the role of sharing these stories from the community and what you think that does for people in the trans, non-binary, GNC community?
We were talking about our spiritual journeys back there. And one of the most powerful moments for me, after being young and obviously queer, everybody wants to try to teach you, if you're a queer person born as a male, then all the men in your life is trying to teach you how to be a Black man. They're trying to teach you basically how to whatever the spoils that male privilege gets you, they want to put you in a position where you can get it. And I rejected that. And one of those places that really was really harsh about, no, you can't reject it, was religion. And so one of the most powerful moments was when somebody, a religious leader, says, without any prompt, without me saying anything about trying to teach them, no kind of, because usually I'll be like, trying to teach you when I meet you. She immediately said, oh, you are here to teach us about the duality between masculine and feminine, how can I live in one person? I had never had somebody affirm me immediately like that in a religious space and say your purpose, you're meant to be here and you have a purpose to teach us something. It's not, I'm trying to teach you how to not to be a sinner. I got to teach you how to live by Christ because you're a reprobate. She literally said, no, you have a purpose in this earth to teach us all this misogyny and sexism and all this kind of stuff. You have a different perspective that you can teach us. And it was powerful to me. It said that I had a voice and I hadn't heard that before. And I was like 23, like 23, and everybody was against everything. It felt like nobody was, even my allies, it felt like, you should do it this way. But this is the first person who said, you have a purpose in this world. And it's big, it's world big. It's not just here, it's you have a purpose world big. And so if I have something to say and there's a reason to share my story, why not do that? And so, and I'm blessed to be in a time where while there are still gatekeepers, we have the internet and we can create content and shows and whatever with however we want it and tell our stories however we want it with whoever wants to resonate with it. And so I use tools like podcasting, YouTube to actually share my story, but not only that, share other people's story who also are making an impact. And so it just is taking my power.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I quoted you back to yourself earlier. One of the things that you said that really captured me. Image control is something most marginalized people lack. And I think that's so powerful in so many ways. And there's like 6 other questions I want to ask you, but we're getting the wrap up. So I know it's going to be difficult to, I think, answer this quickly. But I think we're at a time where we're becoming so aware of, again, the intersections of our communities. We're seeing these conversations enter public spaces that people have been so dismissive of, or not even ready to open up and have that conversation yet. And it's as we are continuing to, again, shoulder this weight and move forward, become the beacons that we all want to be. I wanted to talk a little bit about, just hear a couple of thoughts, just as we're wrapping up. How do we as a community care for one another? And how do we care for ourselves when we're living in a world that is actively choosing not to see so many of us?
I think we have to focus on our similarities. I think we get in the weeds of things. June Jordan has a essay that she wrote about. It's called "The Report in Report from Bahamas," and she talks about her experience being in the Bahamas and seeing the class difference and how, while we may be under the same, some people that she found there, we might be under the same oppressive systems, but there's a difference in how we think about it, and we may have an ending goal. But I feel like we can work together to get towards these tangible, more accessible goals. And then if we need to split paths and talk about it later, do it later. Like when I'm engaging conversations with cis women, I am not going to talk about whether or not being born and with a vagina and that is such a low level, low hanging fruit conversation. If you are that, I'm not gonna waste my time with you. How can I work with cis women who see me as an asset? How can I know for a fact our similarity is that they are going after the agency of your body. I know they will go after mine. So while I don't have any skin in the game in this Roe versus Wade fight, because I'm not a birthing person, I don't want to center myself, but I want to be an ally to you because I know that this is where our similarities lie, not our differences. And so I know that we're going after the same goal. We're fighting the same enemy. Now, once we get this, and we need to part ways and talk and battle whenever that comes, cool. We might have to do that. But right now, the enemy is in sight, and we see who it is, and we are allied in this kind of way. I keep seeing this binary versus non-binary conversation, medical and da 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 da. Those kind of silly conversations. I don't really care. You talking about? I think with Hunter Schafer. It was like, blaming non-binary people for what was happening in Florida. Them conservatives don't listen to non-binary people either. What are you talking about? What? I am a binary girl, but I know that regardless of what we got going on, they don't care. They're going to continue to fight against trans people, whether they be non-binary or binary trans people. They don't care. They don't give a fuck about us, period.
Absolutely.
So why would I be sitting and engage in a battle with my ally? There might be some times when we can go back and forth, but this is not the time. And so why waste my time in that? I think that that's silly. And it's multiple conversations that we get. I'm Ariel. I am not arguing with no racist white people about my Black Ariel. I don't care. She's mine. You don't like her, don't watch it. I'm gonna watch it.
Absolutely.
And so that's another thing where you gotta figure out you have power. Where you put your energy. I'm not putting my energy in those kind of conversations. These low level, silly conversations, I'm not. Meet me at the booth. Meet me at the voters booth. Let's have the conversations there. And so, at the ballot. And so, yes, for me, focusing on the similarities that we have is what I find to be powerful, what I find to be the step in the right direction for us to work together and build the world we want to see.
Well, thank you so much, Diamond. We are moving into just a short Q&A. So I'm gonna pass off the mic here. I just wanna thank y'all for letting me moderate this conversation. I'll leave y'all to Q&A with Diamond herself. So I'll pass off the mic here, but just as if you have a question, if you're curious to ask Diamond something, please raise your hand. We'll find a mic to you. We'll probably just have time for a couple of questions. But just as we're finding our first question, so if you have one, raise your hand, please. I just want to take some time. You were telling me about some really great projects. Can you shout out some of those projects that you got going, some release dates? And then as you're talking, again, I'm gonna head off stage. If you have a question, just please raise your hand.
Okay. Last week, Marsha's Plate hit 1 million listens. My podcast, it is so amazing to be there. October will be our 5th anniversary. So my goal when I first started was to go 5 years and to hit 1 million. And so I literally reached those at the same time this month. So I'm excited about that. I'm on the board of advisory for A Call to Men, and that organization is about pushing men in the right direction. And it's led by this amazing cis Black man named Tony Porter, cis het Black man. I need to make sure I say that. And he hired me to produce a documentary with him. And it's the first time that I've seen something like this, where we sit down and have a conversation with 4 Black trans women and 4 cis het Black men and talk about anti-trans violence and intimate partner homicide that affects cis and trans women. And we wanted to have those kind of conversations. And I had never seen somebody actually invest in the money the money into creating that kind of content. So that is, we actually got our first film festival nod that's going to be in Atlanta on the 26th of September. And I'm so proud of it. It is a powerful conversation that I haven't seen anything like. And I'm doing it with the cis women as well. We are producing, and that was last year, so that's already filmed, but we're about to film next week 12, 6 trans women and 6 cis women, and just really talk about the positives of our sisterhood and kind of navigate the history of us connecting and in our movement when it comes to the trans movement, when it comes to the feminist movement, and how those things connect. I know a lot of times people like to say, oh, we're not the same, and that's okay for us not to be exactly the same, but there's some similarities that we have, and there's some battles that we are both fighting, and how can we focus on those things, like I said earlier. And so that conversation is happening out. In February, I have a book called The Love Beneath that's coming out. And it is about how, it's from my birth till I graduated from high school, about how love showed up in my life. And not romantic, just romantic love, but the love of my mom, dealing with addiction and still being able to love her unconditionally. And even through the hard times, even through her passing from her addiction, and how can I forgive her? My brothers, I have a brother who is totally accepting, and then one that is, oh no. He feels like I took his big brother away. And so we have our issues and how, we're learning to love each other through that, and forgive each other, and in a whole different place now. So the book is coming out in February. And I think that's all I got going on. First question.
Awesome. Do we have any questions for Diamond?
I am a trans mother, and so I'm just starting to get out here and understand things. I have 4 children, and they're in the school district, and they're getting older now. So I have lots of fear because I have to show up as their mother. And I'm having a lot of fear about how am I going to handle this next stage. They're very young, and they're 5, 6, 7, and 11. I've had them all since birth. And I'm the face of new motherhood. There are going to be more transgender mothers in the community, but I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate the next stage where 6th grade and 7th grade comes, and I'm at a football game with my child who wants to play football. He's been wanting to play football, and I'm so scared because I'm like, how am I going to show up? How do I handle the coach? Now my son has a transgender mother. And, so I'm starting to deal with a lot more issues. I'm having fear. I'm strong. I'm one of the first, I know Andrea Jenkins from when she was young. She knew me when I'm young. We've known each other 40 years. I'm one of the oldest transgender women around.
Come on now.
That. And, and now I'm a mother, so I'm dealing with a whole new life, and I'm trying to, and actually I am an award-winning author.
Yes, come on.
I wrote a children's book. Yep, that's my mommy. And trying to get it out there in the world now because I wrote it for my kids so that when they go to school, they can be taught and teach their friends about their mother. I was scared. I was scared to tell my kids, your mother's a transgender. They're like, what's that? And I remember we were writing the book, and I sat there and I was like, the publisher said, read it to your son. And I'm like, hell no. That moment that I was caught off guard. And so I read it. And when I came to the transgender part, my son was like, which he was 9 at the time. And I had so much fear to going down that road with him. But then I said, you know what? If I don't go down this road with him, how do I expect normal family to read this book to their children? So I said, Jean, you have to go and you have to read this book. But I'm just telling you these things because I'm hearing your story and I'm like, okay, now she can do it. Now I'm at that next stage where I'm like, and what are my rights when it comes to being a transgender parent and how I'm treated in the community and how my kids are perceived and what may happen to them, because things are going to happen because of the world we're in and the level of escalating things that are happening.
Yes.
So I am getting prepared for the next stage, but you give me courage because you made it and I know I can, but I just, and I want you to get my book out there too and let people know, but I'm just saying, it's listening to you makes me think, okay, I'm at the next stage and I'm gonna have to become some type of activist in the schools now because my children are going to have, it's gonna change.
Yeah. Let me so I got custody of my brother when I was 21 because my mom went to prison. She got caught up in the crime bill that Biden created back in the 90s. And so in that moment, right before I got like legal custody, I had been taking care of him since he was born. But there was a moment when he was in 5th grade and we lived in Walnut Grove, Mississippi. So it's like a rural town. And so everybody was like, oh Lord, you know, we heard that there was a trans person, a drag queen that didn't moved in our little town. And so when the kids at school got a whiff of it, they would cheese him. And he was young and it made me cry and emotional because I did not want my brother to be teased because of how I decided to live my truth. I felt like it was unfair to him, but these are also our children. They're not worried about fairness. They're just being, kids and with the parents and teachers who may not understand this either. So I felt so bad, but I had to be tenderly selfish. I can't navigate what the world is gonna do. I can't navigate that. All I can do is show you that I love you and I'm gonna be in your corner. Now my brother is a 30-something-year-old man with his own children. And one of the things that he came back and told me as an adult was, I felt bad when I was in 5th grade, but every time that I needed somebody in my corner, you were the only motherfucker there. And I would not trade you for the world for anybody else. You are the one that I was blessed with. You are the one that has just been there. And while those things were hard for me to deal with, it created the man who I am. Nobody can say that I have, abused them or made them feel uncomfortable. He said, me being a part of your life and you being a part of mine just created the man that I can be proud of. And nobody is calling me toxic masculine. Nobody is calling me things because you taught me how to be a man with integrity. You taught me how to be a man, and not because you're a man. It's because because you're experiencing you being proud and you just staying strong in your principles. And so, there's going to be some things that happen. It's going to be, but your kids are going to eventually learn that you are the one that is in their corner. And this is going to color how they navigate the world. And so I was selfishly tender. Like, I'm not going to change who I am, but I know this is hard for you. So let's talk about it. And that's with your kids, let's talk to them. It's going to be hard. There's going to be some bullying. There's going to be some teasing. There's going to be some a-holes, but you be that rock.
Thank you to the beautiful Diamond Stylz, our keynote speaker, stepping in at the last minute today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diamond. Also, we want to thank our keynote moderator, Tamo Lucero. Give them a big hand as well. Also, Miss Riva De Nova for our land acknowledgements, Trumanue Lindsey, Vice President of Equity and Inclusion, and our City Council President, Andrea Jenkins. And I want to give a shout out to Malaysia, who's been handling all of our live feeds and our volunteers today. So let's give Malaysia a fabulous round of applause. They're also going to be giving away free COVID-19 vaccinations, and you also get a $50 gift card if you are wanting to do that upstairs on the 5th floor. And you can see Renika for that, as well as take-home COVID tests provided by sponsored by the City Minneapolis Department of Health. And thank you to the Minnesota Transgender Health Coalition. Again, my name is Quinn Villagomez, aka Shimmer. I'm wearing a pink shirt, blue pants, blue glasses, and black hair. We will be back in this room and on Zoom and Facebook at 4:30 p.m. for our closing panel. Until then, there's so much going on in the middle of the day. There are free COVID vaccines again with a $50 gift card and free HIV testing on the 5th floor of this building. And there's also a career and resource fair, including a few giveaway gender affirming clothing items for youth, name change applications, and so much more. Also, there is a career fair in the gym from 12:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. and tons of workshops in healing and aesthetics offerings that are available both in person and online. More info about all of our programming, as well as Zoom links and room numbers, are in your print and digital programs today. And as you can see from the keynote information in the program, we had to print our programs before some details to change. Please use the program insert for the most updated information about which workshops we are holding and where they'll be located, and to see our updated list of performers, because we have even more joining us on that program schedule later today. Our in-person and Slack volunteers are here to help you find the right room on Zoom links as well. And for in-person attendees, lunch will be served in this space from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. But you're welcome to grab food and eat outside for COVID safety as well. And we'll see you back here at 4:30 p.m. And thank you all so much for being part of the 9th Annual Trans Equity Summit with us. Again, my name is Quinn Villagomez, aka Shimmer. We'll see you soon. Have a beautiful day.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that.
Oh, yes, thank you.